What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, your authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. And this is your Sunday social. It's been a while since we have done this, since I've done a solo show at least. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've done one of these. So very, very excited to get into it. Love to see everyone in the chat already. Let me know how your weekend's been so far, because we have a number of stories that I want to get into, and I'm very, very excited to discuss. It's all kicking off with United at the moment. You've got Donny Van De Beek to Girona for absolute pennies. What has happened to this kid's career? I definitely want to get into that. We also have Ashworth and Erik ten Hag in agreement that they want to get rid of Harry Maguire. How do we all feel about that? And also what's in store for the centre-back situation. How many are we going to get in? Who's going to be leaving? What type of centre-backs, prototype of centre-back do we want to bring in? And then there's some news around Mason Greenwood apparently being given a break. Are we going to eventually be able to sell him, or is he going to have to be reintegrated back into the squad? And towards the end, with you guys, we're going to discuss how you would start our first game of the season, or what you think our starting lineup could look like in terms of, what signings will be through the door, how will pre-season go, etc., etc. Because the Euros is nearly over. Of course, England advanced last night. We did a review of that last night, me, Alex, and Sam. So if you missed that, check that out after this show. But we discussed it in full. England are through to the semis. We'll do the preview for that at some point. We'll discuss the final, of course. But then it's back to United, which everybody loves anyway. Pre-season Monday. And then we kick on from there, and we can really start, getting that United shape back and United kind of uniform and go forward. So I'm really, really excited about United being back. And yeah, plenty of things to discuss. So obviously we got the news yesterday. We did, like I said, we did go live, but we did the review of the England game. So we'll talk purely about Man United today. If you're in TikTok or if you're in the live, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe and get involved in the comment section. So Donny set to sign for Girona for £500,000, which is crazy considering we bought him for around 40. This could rise up to 4 to 5 million, including certain add-ons and certain amount of appearances and blah, 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 and this kind of stuff. The big question is with Donny Van De Beek is, how has he gone, right? And this is kind of what United do in a sense. I'm not blaming it all on United because it's on the player as well. But how has he gone from being on the 30-man Ballon d'Or shortlist to being sold for £500,000? It's absolutely nuts, isn't it? It's crazy. That's one of the biggest fall-offs I think you will see. From the reputation he had at Ajax, a very, very promising. The same reputation, don't forget, that De Ligt had, that De Jong had. These upcoming players who were going to go to Europe, they was going to go to a Barcelona or Real Madrid wanted Donny. Don't forget that. Real Madrid wanted Donny Van De Beek. And look, it could have turned out the exact same way there. It could have flourished there. It happens sometimes. Confidence and injuries and stuff like that. I think if you look at his injuries, he struggled with a groin injury in 2021, I think it was, which obviously limited his appearances and hindered his ability to find form. He was very patchy. Then the 22 to 23 season, suffered a serious knee injury problem in January, sidelined him for the remainder of the season, and also required surgery. So again, another one where you have such a big injury and such a big surgery, it sets any players back. And then when you're already struggling with the rhythm and tempo of the Premier League anyway, when you have a massive injury, it's really hard to get back into the team then. I think lack of consistent playing time, he was frequently being used as a substitution, played out of his preferred position, which obviously disrupted the rhythm and confidence again. He had adaptation issues from going from the Eredivisie to the Premier League, just could not replicate that form that he was showing for United. He just could not do it for whatever reason that is. I think it's just because of the pure physicality of the Premier League compared to the Eredivisie. And you've seen that with some of the players that have come over as well. Antony bought for big money, 85 million. What he was doing in the Dutch league, not replicated. But then with Lissandro coming over, he has replicated it. And it's weird because with Donny at the time, I think the majority of us were almost laughing at the thought of him not being successful at United when Erik ten Hag's there, when Erik ten Hag was the guy that brought him through. Do you know what I mean? So it is a very strange situation. I feel bad for him because he seems like a good lad. There was one point where people were saying he was the answer, and just because he weren't playing it, because he was on the bench, people just assume that, oh, when he comes on, he's going to make a massive difference. And he had the odd cameos, don't get me wrong. I think he had a cameo against Watford, which was really impressive. Some nice flicks. You could tell he's a very intelligent player. He finds space on and off the ball. There's a player in there, I think. So Girona are probably looking at this, and they're probably saying, it's a bit of a gamble, but what's £500,000? If we can get him back to what he was doing at Ajax, in a much more suitable league, in the Spanish league, then we're going to have some form of a player there. And, we're taking him off United's hands. United want to get rid. They can't get any kind of fee for him apart from this kind of small, minimal fee. I mean, when was the last time someone went for that amount of money, for £500,000 from United, that wasn't like a youth player? It's crazy, really, when you think about it. So clearly United are just like, dusting the hands off. He's had multiple managers, multiple different tactical setups that he's not fit in. And for the majority of the time, when we have given him opportunities, I think he's failed to make a significant impact in games. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure, some of you feel differently about it. But yeah, I think it was time for him to go. It's not exactly breaking news that he's going. I think it's more of a shock to the system that United have actually managed to sell him despite the price. I think most people would say. But let's see what everyone's saying in the chat. Lovely to see so many of you in here. Please do keep smashing that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. We're trying to hit 6,000 subs. So if there's anyone on TikTok watching right now and you love football content, come and check us out. We've got an amazing community in here with all the regulars in the chat as always. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Now, YJJ say Maguire's 31. He's finished. I'm going to talk about Harry Maguire in a moment. I don't think he's finished, but okay. Tyler James, I think Greenwood stays because they could have got rid of him a long time ago. It's simple. They don't want him to leave. Well, no, they want him. They want a certain price for him in their head. It was initially 40, but I think they're willing to bring that down now to 30 because Lazio and Juventus and Marseille are all kind of, we'll give you 20 mil. I think one of the teams offered like a 50% sell on. United were around 30. So if any of them teams hit that, eventually, whether that's with add-ons or whatever it is, we'll sell him. I'm telling you now, we'll sell him. Richard Hawkins, afternoon. Good afternoon, Richard. Hope you're good. Same with you, Brian. Same with Jay. Nice to see you all in the chat. Same with Steph as well. Big up Steph and Dan. I reckon he'll go and smash it somewhere else. Just did not suit the Prem. And that happens with players. You see it all the time. Premier League just don't suit it. Just don't. It is the toughest league on the entire planet Earth. I've just referenced a couple of players there already. That Anthony wasn't doing what he's doing in an Ajax shirt for Manchester United, and he cost a shitload more. Cost double what Donny cost. Even more. Thank you for the gift, by the way. Thank you for the rose, Savannah. I can't say your name, sorry. Arumu Gam. That's how I say his second name. Apologies. But thank you very much for the gift. So, yeah, that's where we're at with Donny. David Harrington, 6 to 7 mil saved on wages, add-ons, and a sell-on clause. I don't mind the deal. Exactly. It's not, I can't see that a lot of people or a lot of the fan base crying from the hills saying, no, we've sold Donny Van De Beek. I can't believe it. He was going to be a star in this team. It's like, with all due respect, he's off the books now. It is what it is. We needed that to happen, and we can move on. And when we talk about clearing deadwood, it seems like a very personal thing. And when you say deadwood, you can think if you was a player yourself, and you hear yourself describe, you're like, fucking deadwood, what you on about? But he has almost become that United. He's just kind of there and lingering. And there's a few players like that we need to get out the door. And I think Ineos are going to be very, very cutthroat with them kind of deals. And that's what we need. We can't have anyone, what's the word? We can't have any lackers or slackers, let's say, in the team. We need to be fully focused going ahead into the future. So Donny Van De Beek being sold for £500,000. How do we all feel about that? David Ornstein has just tweeted something about Joshua Zirkzee whilst we're live. Let's have a look at that. Man United working to finalise the signing of Bologna striker Joshua Zirkzee. Personal terms and agent commissions for 23-year-old in place. Club talks continue. United exploring whether to activate the €40 million clause or agree separate price. But deal now close. That is the Ornstein bomb that we've all been waiting for people that have referenced it in the chat. David Ornstein just put a tweet out about Joshua Zirkzee. That is getting closer and closer. And what I think you are going to see, and I'll talk about De Ligt in a moment, I think you're going to see De Ligt and Zirkzee in the next two signings come through the door. The two signings before pre-season. I think Branthwaite's going to drag on for a bit. I think Ugarte is going to drag on for a bit because he put, was it Brazil out of the Copa America last night with his penalty? So he's not going to really want to sort his future out until he's done with that competition. It was the same thing with Joshua Zirkzee, of course. England play Netherlands in a semi-final, so he's going to want his future resolved after that. So, yeah, I think once that's done, Netherlands could get to the final or whatever, but I think that's when you'll start to see these deals. Because within the next 7 days, Xerxes and De Ligt, in my opinion, will be done. Just my opinion. Not going off anything what anyone said. Just from what I've read, from what I've seen, how the deals are kind of moving and shaping at the minute. That's what I would probably suggest. So how do we all feel about that? Ornstein dropping the Xerxes bomb. I agree, Nick. However, Ten Hag didn't fancy him, and even on loan at Everton, no one's seen anything that made him a first-team regular. Completely agree with that, Richard. If anyone offers 20 to 30 mil for Maguire, then why not? He's turning into another Martial or Jones. My Damn United's in the chat. Big up, mate. I hope you're good. Nice to see you in the chat. Hey, all. Hope you're all good. Driving, but listening. Okay, as long as you're listening and not watching, that's okay. Brian, Xerxes and De Ligt deals will be done as soon as the Euros finish. Agreed. And Lars Falkenberger's in the chat says Ornstein bomb. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That is what we're talking about. And that is what live footage and content is all about. Ornstein dropping that Xerxes bomb. So, yeah, there's another update here. United held new talks with Xerxes' agent to discuss contract terms, salary, commission. Eric Ten Hag spoke to Xerxes on the phone several times. United are discussing internally whether they want to proceed. So yeah, Romano basically echoing what Ornstein's saying, or the other way around. We'll circle back round to Xerxes towards the end for anyone who's missed that news. We'll discuss that a little bit more in depth because it's an update, but we're not really further along. The majority of us knew that personal terms and all that kind of stuff have already been agreed. It's just whether United are willing to pay that price or they want to kind of lower it. I don't know. But we'll see what happens with that. And again, we'll circle back to it. Now, talking about Harry Maguire, because something got released today from Mullock and the Mirror, who's got very good ties with Eric Ten Hag, saying that Dan Ashworth and Eric Ten Hag are ready to move Harry Maguire out of Manchester United. Is it time for him to move on? You look at the landscape of centre-backs at the moment. I mean, Leach has had his injury issues, so we don't know. I'm praying he's going to stay fit for next season because he is a starting centre-back for us. Absolutely. He's probably the best centre-back at the club currently. Victor Lindelof, I don't know what's going to happen with him. I feel like he's going to move on. You know, he's got a year left on his deal. He's interested in Turkey, talking like 9-10 million euros. I feel like he could move on. Then if Maguire moves on as well, you've got Cambuala, Evans, I think I signed another one-year deal on it. Cambuala, Evans, and Lissandro. So that's 3 centre-backs. So you need 2 centre-backs in there. 2 senior ones. De Ligt being one of them, Branthwaite potentially being the other. But, you know, excuse me. It's not as easy as that because if we can't sell Maguire, we don't even know if there's any potential suitors for him. It's all good saying, yeah, sell him 30 million quid, 20 million quid, whatever, light work, easy. What teams want to go in for him? You know, last season we had a chance. West Ham were interested. They wanted to pay, I think it was just 30 mil, but we couldn't agree on wages and stuff. Does Maguire want to leave or does he want to see his contract out? There are multiple things with this. So it's not as simple as just, yeah, get Maguire off the books, sit a bit. It's whether the player wants to go, whether the move's right for him. United may end up keeping hold of him in that sense. So, yeah, if we manage to get De Ligt in, I still think Maguire stays. It's if the second one comes in, if we get a Branthwaite in, because then you've got enough cover. You've got Lissandro, senior centre-back, first team starter, perfect. Branthwaite or De Ligt will be alongside him, or you can kind of rotate in that area, depending on what happens with injuries and stuff. Then you've got Cambuala, the young one, who's kind of, you know, growing into the team, and you've got Evans, that experience, and sometimes you need him in cup games, and that's kind of the perfect rotation there. So we'll see how that the landscape shifts. We've also had an update from the same outlet on Matthias de Ligt. So Eric Ten Hag has already held talks with Matthias de Ligt, and he told him that he is seen as a new defensive rock to build around. And that is kind of going to fall in line with what I want to discuss at the end of the show in terms of how we can start our first game in the Premier League. You also had it for Richo Romano when his Instagram confirmed that personal terms are close to being agreed. So again, it's about United agreeing a fee with Bayern Munich. Apparently, United are trying to offer 34. I think Bayern Munich want around 42, which is around 50 million euros. So again, it's a case of meeting in the middle. And that's another deal that has nearly been agreed. So if you can get in De Ligt, let's say we sell Harry Maguire for, I mean, it's like you said, he's 31 now. So are you still going to get 30 million quid for him? Maybe 25, let's just say. If you can get him in and then bring De Ligt in for 35 million, that is fantastic business. Fantastic business. De Ligt's still 24 years old, by the way. So I think that's phenomenal business. Same thing, you bring in Xerxes, you get rid of Greenwood for 30 to 40 mil, you get rid of Sancho for 30 to 40 mil. You know, you can see the spending there done. You might end up with a net spend of fucking zero, depending on how much you end up paying for Branthwaite. So, yeah, I like the business they're doing at the minute. Definitely. Now, Xerxes and De Ligt deals will be done. Sorry, I already read that out. Here's the thing, yes, Harry move on, but then we need another centre-back. Signing Xerxes will remove the fear of last season if Højlund gets injured. Well, one thing I've always said about Xerxes is, he is, for anyone who's wondering what type of striker he is, he's more of a Firmino that you see at Liverpool. So if you think about our dynamic in the attack, what do we always say about our wingers? Greedy, selfish, don't really look for each other. You bring in a Xerxes into that fold, he would become that nucleus then. And I think the other wingers would feed off it. So if you want a different tactical setup, you want to go with a bit of more of a false nine, or maybe you want to play two up top with Rasmus and Xerxes, or you want to go, there's so many different tactical setups you can have with that striker coming in. And also you can give Højlund a rest as well. And I think that's what Erik ten Hag would have been saying to Xerxes. I think he would have been saying, look, you might be concerned about game time. I understand. Maybe that's why initially you preferred to move to AC Milan. But look how much we can tweak the system and how, you could be Højlund's partner, you could be as a 10, you're going to get more than enough games. Because look at last season as well, we had a couple of injuries. I think you'll get more than enough game time, so I wouldn't even worry about that. That's what I'd say to Xerxes. David Harrington, Luke Shaw was ahead of Maguire at centre-back before his injuries. He was excellent there too. Of course, he's another option who I've not even mentioned, especially if we bring in a left-back. I don't know who that's going to be. Maybe it'd be a Kirkes from Bournemouth if we've got enough funds. Maybe it'd be a Region if you go back in for him, just as like an option, because we can't go another season again without a left-back. We just simply cannot do that. So maybe we'll go with that. And then you can use Luke Shaw there if you need to. If Lisandro gets injured, bring him in unless we sign Branthwaite. There's plenty of options, which is nice to have. And even if you want to go to a back five, you can have, I don't know, De Ligt as a central one, Lisandro, Shaw, whoever. You can tweak it about. Keep Evans, he's the Pepe of United. Dan Sheldon from The Athletic saying that Ruud and Rene Hack are set to be announced tomorrow. Yep, everything being put in place before pre-season. It's nice to see. Just double checking if there's any other updates. What we're seeing in TikTok as well. Donny will cook this season, says the legend. Have you watched the Serie A or just YouTube? I've done in-depth analysis of Xerxes, so I wouldn't even question my knowledge on that. Maguire doesn't fit our system, to be fair. Should go to Everton or something. Everton, I think, it'd be perfect. Imagine if we could do a swap deal for Maguire and Branthwaite and a bit of money. Because I actually think Maguire going to Everton in a Sean Dyche system would fit in perfectly. I think he'd be, an absolute rock for them. Him and Tarkowski alongside each other aerially, and they're not getting beat very much, are they, when they play that kind of low block? So I think they'd suit it. He's not going to be world class at United. Edmund Tapsoba should be signed by United. Hadn't he just signed a new contract? I'm sure he just signed a new contract. Tapsoba at Leverkusen. De Ligt will have to do a medical, so surely we'll see how strong his knee is. 40 million a bargain. Branthwaite 80 million overpriced as England. Yeah, I think Branthwaite is overpriced at the minute. 50 million is okay with me. De Ligt would be a mistake. Would turn out to be another. Right, let's just talk about De Ligt. Let's pause on De Ligt for a couple of minutes because a lot of people are concerned with this signing, and I understand it. Right, I think let's go back to his time at Ajax. Okay, successful. I think youngest captain in Ajax's history, got to a semi-final, was a mega player for them, was always destined to go on and do great things. He moved to Juventus, and at the time, obviously Serie A has a much more tactical game in it, in terms of the defensive bit, in comparison to the Dutch league, it's much more thought processed with the defensive game. So you have Bonucci and Chiellini, who were two giants in Italy, two of the greatest defenders to come out of that league, who were there at the time. I think Chiellini got injured or Bonucci got injured, one of the two, and De Ligt got thrown into there. So, one, he didn't really have time to adapt. He just got chucked straight into the fire. There was a bit of a language barrier as well. And then I think Juventus had multiple managers. So they had Pirlo, Allegri, and Sarri, I think it was. So he had a change of 3 different managers whilst he was there. So he had no stability at Juventus when he moved. So that didn't work out. Bayern Munich still saw a player in him. Let's go and get him. We all know what's happened with Bayern Munich. Again, change of multiple different managers. They've changed the whole board upstairs. They want a new approach. They want to go for different players. Tuchel was playing Eric Dyer over Kim Min-jae, who they signed for 50 million quid. They was playing him over Matthias De Ligt, who actually had a good season in his first season arriving there. And De Ligt's one of them players. He wants to be the main man in that defence. He wants to be the communicator. He wants to be the leader in that back line. And I think at United, he sees an opportunity in that to play alongside Lisandro, who, of course, as well, has also played at Ajax and will probably know of him. I think Lisandro joined just as De Ligt was leaving, to be fair. But, they both come from the same team. They'll have things in common. They're both a similar age profile. De Ligt's 24. I think Lissandro's 25. That is a centre-back partnership to build with. And people will talk about pace as well. De Ligt's quick. Regardless what any stats on FIFA or whatever what they want to tell you, De Ligt is pretty quick. I'm telling you. There's a video as well a couple of times, a race with Mbappe, Chiesa, when he was at Juventus, he beat him in a race. So he's not slow. He's not slow. And I think he would be a pretty good option. Wage-wise, he's willing to take a wage cut, so that's not a mega issue either. You don't have to go too far with that, offering him silly money per month, about 350 grand. And he's a chance to link up with Erik ten Hag again, which people, that may be a concern with certain players, but I think it's a very smart move. I do. To get him for that price, and he's still 24 years old. He's had the best education you could possibly want. You talk about playing alongside Van Dijk with the Netherlands, playing alongside Chiellini and Bonucci at Juventus, captain at Ajax in Champions League semi-finals and stuff. You know, he's a well-rounded player. Yes, he's had his moments where he's not done the best, but you look at managers that they work with that they've been successful under before, sometimes they bring them back to that level. And I believe Erik ten Hag can do that. So, De Ligt with me, I'm not too fussed, to be honest. I'm really not. Lindelof looks more likely to move, says Shreyas. Weren't Serie A clubs interested in Barry? I mean, if Barry wants to go to Italy, he'd probably be successful there as well. I think we can all agree on that one. De Ligt is a phenomenal player, but his injuries concern me. Yeah, that's another thing, of course. Considering his release clause, how broke are they? Are you referring to Xerxes at Bologna? Bonucci did an interview when De Ligt left. He was pissed off. They didn't want him to go. He forced to move on international duty. Yeah, so you could tell there wasn't much stability at Juventus. What's going on here? Manchester United have green light from both Xerxes and De Ligt to join the club. Both players have spoken to Erik ten Hag with Man United, now ready to advance on club side in the coming days. It's all approved salary commission for Xerxes. Wow. So yeah, De Ligt and Xerxes imminent apparently in the next couple of days. They've both given the green light. Ready to go. Just need the fees to be agreed now and paid. And that's the first two. Dutch connection again. We've got two Dutch coaches coming in tomorrow, Rene Hack and Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then you've got Xerxes and De Ligt potentially joining in the next couple of days as well. I think, for me personally, that would be a good first start to the Ineos era, but we still need to build on that. But it's good, smart business. Two players, you know, if you get Xerxes, Ugarte and De Ligt for £100 million, that's already taken away from what we've done with Anthony, let's say, where that's what we paid for Anthony alone, almost, you know? So, much better business. Any news about Amrabat? Amrabat, they're still deciding on whether to pay it internally or not. It's not a full-blown conclusion. It's going to go back, but it's not a full-blown conclusion that we're going to buy him. So, they're still discussing it internally to see how the midfield shapes up, how much they end up spending on Ugarte. What sales can they make? Will Casemiro go? More importantly, to Saudi Arabia. We haven't heard much about that. And again, pre-season starts on Monday. So I think a couple of these deals could end up being dragged along, for the foreseeable, at least for the next couple of weeks, I would say. Xerxes' release clause, 34 million, has to be paid in full, which is seen as a potential cash flow issue for United. They're exploring whether to activate it or negotiate a price separately. I think you're messing about a little bit there. That's a little bit dangerous because Milan are willing to pay the release clause, but they're not willing to pay the commission fees. So I think that could get a little bit dicey in that sense. But yeah, we'll see. Xerxes is given the green light, so he's open to joining United. And obviously, if we have any more updates whilst we're live, and that's the beauty of doing lives, we will circle back to that. Maybe we'll get a here we go. The news is going that quick at the minute. Now, let's discuss Mason Greenwood for a second. So, Mason Greenwood is set to benefit from an extended break while the club continues to work on a possible sale. Jadon Sancho should return to Carrington tomorrow, even if his differences with Erik ten Hag are still not resolved. And like Aaron said on this show, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, how long do you wait for an apology, you know? Like, it's getting beyond just a joke at the minute. If he's coming back, let's try get something out of him. You know, have an internal discussion. Just say, look, the past is the past. Shit happened. Let's work together. Let's try get your form back in you. Let's try get you some minutes. And if we can materialise a move for you, in terms of Sancho's case, let's move you on and let's get a deal done. That's how they should handle it. Don't be holding grudges into this season and saying, nope, no. I still want a full apology. If you don't apologise in front of the players or we don't put it out or wherever, then yeah, you're not playing. Just come on, get over that. Let's have a discussion. And let's get the best for both parties. I think that's what's best for the club. Also with Mason Greenwood as well, you know, we know Marseille, we know Lazio, We know other clubs have been interested. Who was the other? Juventus have been interested in him as well, but I think they've turned their attention to Sancho because they want to get rid of Chiesa. So there's certainly interest in Greenwood, but as I said near the start of the video, we want a certain price for him. We want 30 million, I think, and that could be achievable with add-ons. Other teams want to pay 20. Valencia was another one, 25. Maybe they will end up caving and just saying, you know what, we don't want to bring him back. Let's just take the 25 and just, again, wash our hands with it, because they're going to need to move him on. He's going to be one of the biggest ones to move on simply because pure profit. Is an academy prospect in it, so well, it's gone further than academy prospect. But you sell him, his wages and his transfer fee is pure profit in terms of what your PSR regulations and stuff. So I think United are definitely going to want to get that deal done along with the Sancho. Do you see him hitting the heights that was set out for him prior to all the stuff that went on? So obviously, people are describing him as a generational talent, going to be one of the best players at United. Does he still hit them heights at other clubs? Does he have a trajectory where he starts at Marseille, goes to PSG, goes to Madrid? Or do you just see him kind of staying around this level that he's at in a minute? Do you see him hitting his potential? That's the question I want to throw to you guys in the chat. Now, what we're saying in the chat. What's the news with Sancho? Is anyone even interested in signing him? I think I covered that. Andy Williams, seems still great at selling players. I was Donny being sold for 500k. I did speak about that at the start, to be fair. Do you see a world where Ineos sit down with him and Ten Hag and he stays? I do, David. I do, to be honest. I don't think it's a full-blown conclusion that he's definitely going to get sold. Obviously, United have put it out there through very reputable journalists like Simon Stone, who they only put stuff out if it's absolutely concrete, saying that they want 40 million. So Sancho knows that United want to sell him. So maybe it's a little bit fractured in that sense. But we've seen it with players before where they've come back. We've seen it loads of times. So I would absolutely not rule that out. Yeah, because if they don't get the price that they want for him, they're like, right, fine. Let's try and get a player out of him. Let's work with the manager. Hoyland the GOAT. Do you remember when we were after Timber that could not get him because of the international due? Could not get him because of I can't remember. Yeah, I don't know what you were alluding to there. Try expand on that a little bit. Daniel Raj has been a member for 15 months. Absolute legend of the channel. A member of the channel as well. Let's get Ugarte in the left back. We're almost there. If you want to become a member for exclusive content, a badge next to your name, and a chance to feature on the show, please do click that join button next to the notification bell. It's £2.99 per month. It just helps support the channel. We get amazing guests on. For anyone who's been here from the start, people like Brian Casey, people like Dan, there's new members that have joined recently. You're all absolute legends as well. You guys, from what I've seen, appreciate the content, and we try to put as much out for you. So yeah, we love the community and all the real Red Ultras. Appreciate every single one of you. Jay McGuire is saying Greenwood will fly in the right environment. There's never been any doubt in his talent. Agreed. David saying sell Greenwood, but we just had to put in a massive sell-on clause just in case. No, I think unfortunately he'll never hit those heights, says Richard. Shreyas says for the future, I think Ahmad is the one for that right wing. Even if somehow Sancho stays, Ahmad deserves that spot. Absolutely. He means duty, Nick. Oh, international duty. Ah, right, okay. I'm with you, yeah. Yes, I do remember that. You can't promote Greenwood to a wide audience because of his past. I mean, I'm not promoting anything. I'm just discussing his future. Might as well try and get Arda Güler on loan. What a player he is, by the way. Madrid have got another young gem there, aren't they? Along with the other 19,000 that they've got. Simmons doesn't want to stay at PSG. Sancho doesn't want to be at United. A swap would be prime. I don't see anyone doing a swap like that. Simmons' potential, his price at the minute, I don't think PSG would ever do that. I do like Xavi Simmons, though. I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's a top player. Greenwood shouldn't go to Marseille. We got De Zerbi there now, haven't we? So I think he's interested in signing him. A lot of people discussing Greenwood. Hello everyone in the chat. Please do drop us a follow on TikTok, by the way. Oh, someone just has. Thank you, Clive. Anyone who's tuning in, drop us a follow. And join the community as well on YouTube. Hop on. Come and have a chat with us. There's loads of us on at the minute. Right. The last thing I want to get into, I said at the start of the show, the starting 11 next season. What I'm going to try and do is guess the starting 11 for Manchester United next season in our first game. So I'm going to go with a 4-3-3 formation. I'm going to go Onana in net, Diego Dalot at right back. We're going to have a centre-back partnership of Matheus de Ligt and Lisandro Martinez with a fit, hopefully, Luke Shaw at left back. Ugarte comes in as that energetic, dominating midfielder as the 6. We're going to have Bruno Fernandes as an 8, dropping slightly deeper. Kobbie Mainoo is an 8 on the left-hand side, dropping slightly deeper. Alejandro Garnacho on the right. Rasmus Højlund up top, who's going to take it to that next level next season as well. And then Marcus Rashford's going to bounce back into the form that we all know and love from the 22-23 season. And he's going to go on the left. And that is going to be our starting 11. And then on the bench, we're going to have options like Joshua Zirkzee. We're going to have a couple of other surprise signings potentially. We'll see how the business gets on. Maybe Branthwaite will come into that team. And maybe there's a couple of others. But that's how I see us lining up next season. What do we all think? Who would you change? Who would you bring in? Maybe a Zirkzee, maybe a Branthwaite, but will Branthwaite play alongside Lissandro? Will it be a different midfielder? Will it still be Casemiro there and Ugarte on the bench? I think it's interesting because I know a lot of people will probably be thinking, the season's, a month away? Just over 5 weeks, I'd probably say. But that will go like that. We'll start pre-season in a week and we'll already be discussing the Community Shield game, which is, I don't know what the date of that. I think that's about a week before the season kicks off. So in actual fact, our season properly starts in a month today. We've got, that Euros will fly this week. We'll do the final. That'll get done and dusted. England will be the winners. So Mainu and Shaw will have a trophy. Can't be on that. And then, pre-season. Fly straight into that. Build up the fitness. Build up the tactics. Let's have a bit of positivity and momentum about us going into next season. Because let's be honest and let's be clear, you can't have... I hope not anyway. You can't have a much worse season than you did last season. You finished 8th. Yes, you won an FA Cup, but league finish was atrocious. So that's the benchmark going into next season. You've got to smash that. You've got to get back into that Champions League, back into the Champions League spot, sorry. You've got a challenge in Europe, in the Europa League. I think that could be a next trophy under Eric Ten Hag. Could you imagine if he wins the Carabao Cup in his first season, the FA Cup in his second season, and then he wins the Europa League in his third season? That'd be absolutely insane. I don't think a manager's ever done that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be incredible. Gakpo is carrying Holland. I like Gakpo. I've always said I like Gakpo. When we got linked with him, I said United should have signed him. Ten Hag's a big fan of the player, another Dutch player. But I really like Gakpo. I think you are seeing a bit of, just on that Dutch thing, I think you are seeing a bit of an influence now, aren't you? In terms of, you've got Eric Ten Hag as the coach. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with Mitchell van der Gaag. But he obviously brought Tyrell Malacia in. He's looking to bring Zirkzee in. You're looking to bring Matthijs de Ligt in. You've got Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rene Hack. Like, there is a huge Dutch influence coming over in this team, isn't there? Into coaches and players. And, maybe that's the attraction that they're selling to de Ligt and to Zirkzee. They're saying, look, these coaches, these two that are coming in, absolute tacticians. We've got a full squad set up now. We've got a certain way that we want to play. Obviously, with you, Zirkzee, we can switch the tactical setup, like I mentioned before. De Ligt, you're going to be a rock. We're going to build around you. You and Lissandro at the back. Just imagine that partnership if you can play frequently together and you can both stay injury-free more to a point. Dallow's going to be there anyway. He's going to be consistent right back. And then you've got Luke Shaw at left back as well. That's and Onana. You've got a new goalkeeper coach coming in. You can see you can see the bits, the steps that they're making and what they're working on for next season. And I'm excited to see what type of football they're playing. I hope it's not the football that we saw last year where it's just frantic and fucking everywhere. Like I said, I'd like to see a 4-3-3. Bruno drop a little bit deeper. You can have him and Mainu, pushing forward each, like he does for Portugal a little bit. And then let the attackers do the jobs, man. Let the attackers do the jobs. But you need to step up from then as well in terms of output. Garnacho, take it to the next level. Rashford, take it to the next level. Højlund, let's see some more goals as well. And I think we'll be absolutely cooking. Excited. Very excited. How do we all feel, though, about next season? Are we optimistic if we get the right signings in? Yeah, what's the general consensus going into it? Liverpool should go for Osimhen. This is not a Liverpool show. We shall not talk about those Merseyside. I won't repeat the second bit, but yeah, this is real Reds. So United, well, not United only, but you get what I'm saying. We were that bad. I was really looking forward to the Euros. Now I've been watching England play. I'm ready for the season to start again already. Well, I agree with you. The way England's been playing has been absolutely dog shit, hasn't it? But I think if people won't care if he wins it, will they? If Southgate wins the Euros, they won't be talking about how we played. These won't. It's as simple as that. You've won a trophy, England's first trophy in 50 years, I think. Well, since obviously 1966. It's mega. But again, we've been in a situation where semi-final, final, and we flopped. Flopped to a shit Italy team in the Euros. Got knocked out by Croatia when we went 1-0 up. The World Cup as well with France. It's doesn't bode well for England when you look at the history. But maybe it's that time now. When you've got the players that you've got, you know, Bellingham, Foden, Kane, even Saka yesterday, Cole Palmer off the bench, incredible. Rice, I thought Mainu was phenomenal. Luke Shaw coming back on, instantly start him if he's ready. He seemed like he was fit. Seemed like, he's so much better on that left-hand side, and he's the only natural left-footed left-back that we've got. He has to play the next game. And I think Netherlands is going to be a tough test. But with Netherlands, Xerxes and De Ligt don't even start for them, did it? It's De Vrij who plays instead of De Ligt. And then they play like either Memphis Depay, Vegas plays more minutes than Xerxes. But again, it's just different in it. We see even with England, like I mentioned, Cole Palmer and Tony don't start, and they start for a lot of teams. So yeah, international football is slightly different. I wouldn't pin everything on that and just say, oh, they don't start for the national team, so they're not that good. It always happens. I'll get back to you once we've seen Wagwan this summer regarding being excited for the new season. We need a Roy Keane in that setup. Well, Rene Hack, if you've seen videos of that guy, he is an absolute nutcase. He will be that Roy Keane, I'm telling you. Nick, would you just do a swap deal for Rashford or for Palmer? Oh, God. Yeah. Look, I love Rashford. He seems harsh. He's one of ours. But if you're asking me, realistically, would I take one for the other? 100%. 100%. Cole Palmer, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is one of the most exciting players in the league. And, when he comes on for England, he makes things happen straight away. Sometimes you watch a player, Rashford, he has 3 or 4 opportunities to run out of man, he'll give it away, he'll get frustrated. Palmer gets it, he just don't give a shit, just boom. Kills teams, kills players. I love him, personally. He's one of my favourite players at the minute. And in fact, he's from Manchester as well. It's like, yeah, United missed a trick on that one. He should have been coming through our team now at the minute. I think he's a top player. I rate him ridiculously high. And I think he'll have another good season with Chelsea next season. He's their best player. And, Chelsea got a lot of talent in that team, so... yeah. Right, I shall leave it at that, people. Thank you very much for tuning in. If anything breaks, trust me, I'll go live. So turn on that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, drop us a follow on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for all the news and all the content and all the reels and all the news updates and stuff like that. All the socials, you know them already. Just type in Real Reds Talk wherever you're at, and appreciate every single one of you. And we may be live at 7 o'clock as well. I'll discuss it with the lads, and we'll go live for you again, yeah? Take it easy. Thank you, everyone. I hope you've